Greetings, and we are shaping up for an exciting year on the marketing and brand building front as agencies start to get to grips with changing client priorities, but also with very exciting and some might even say scary technology. We're going to talk about that. The Brave Group has appointed new Chief Creative Officer Thibedi Meso, who joins me alongside Group Chief Executive Musa Kalenga. We're going to look forward to 2023, and let me also say that this year in the Chinese calendar is the year of the water rabbit. Why is that important? Well, it's a symbol of longevity, peace, and here's the important word, prosperity in Chinese culture. 2023 is also predicted to be a year of hope. Musa Kalenga, we all hope that it's a year of hope. How's the marketing landscape going to change in 2023?
It's a great question because I think there are going to be a couple of shifts. I think the fundamental one is going to be the maturing of the integrated model. I think so. What has been in the past a full service offering typically showed up as quite bitty, and I think there'll be a maturing in how organizations from an agency perspective are now getting the integrated model refined. I think that's because clients are asking for an integrated approach, and clients have been very clear that they get value and they get efficiencies out of that. The second thing is technologies are starting to creep up that are going to create an existential crisis for a lot of our agencies. ChatGPT, which everybody knows about, effectively is going to change the game. If you think about what we have been doing in the past versus what we have to do in the future, all the skills around writing, creativity, coding, you name it, are going to be challenged with regards to that kind of technology. So I think there'll be a shifting around the paradigm for the role of a creative resource and how they partner better with technology. And then obviously from a creativity perspective, we're seeing technology once again creeping in, things like AI generated images, campaigns developed from scratch using AI, and that's once again going to push the limits from a creative perspective.
Thibedi, we'll get to creativity and and AI in just a moment.
Yes.
By the way, the intro that I wrote to this conversation, I wrote it, then I ran it through ChatGPT as well, and it came up with a better version, but I used my own version anyway. Before we get to the creativity side,
sure.
How do you get the integration model right? I mean, everyone's been talking about integration for a long time.
Yeah.
What's the essence here?
I think, to be honest with you, it starts with the mindset of the people. To be frank, I think they just seems to be prevailing schools of thought that lend themselves to integration better than others, right? So when you've got a team of people and it consists of individuals that have been in the agency space for 30, 40 years, whatever it may be, my observation is that they struggle to shift out of what they used to do into this new thinking around integration. So I think the mentality around the teams that you employ becomes really important. So the paradigms, number one, is crucial. Number two is if you've got people that at their core understand collaboration, understand new skills and multi-skills, understand different bodies of knowledge, it makes it easier to put them into a room with other people who are similar. And this is not even an age thing, it's a mentality thing. The second thing is we have gaps. So, even though I may appreciate that collaboration across discipline is important, I may not necessarily know how to code or how to write long form, how to write short form, but I need to be able to close that gap quickly. And so the learning that is coupled with integration is also crucial because we are asking our resources to show up and do more. We are asking people to get themselves out of the discipline they may have come to know and crafted over the last X amount of years and learn something new. We are asking them to contribute sometimes out of kilter with what they know and what they've valued for the longest time. So that does require a level of maturity, but it also needs people to lean into it because if that's not going to be the case, it really feels like pushing a barrel uphill.
And overcome the fear factor as far as that is concerned.
Correct.
As well. Before we get to creativity and its change in the digital world, you are newish in the agency group.
Newish.
So introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, newish is I think an apt word because I have been here before at the Brave Group. At the time, Vanessa Pearson, one of the founding members, was here. And it was really great working and connecting with her. So I really got a good sense of what the agency was about and why it came about, you know. So I really enjoyed that time, my career here at Brave, and I'm really excited to be back. I think there's been a new energy and a reinvigorated spirit that's come through with the new leadership. You know, Musa speaks a lot about tech and how we're going to use it to take over the world and infuse it with creativity. You know, so I think as a tech geek that he is, a strong creative mind that I am, I think we're going to have some really, really strong and good engagements to really drive the agency forward. So yeah, I'm really excited about what we can create, and it's an interesting time to be rejoining the agency because the world has changed, and I think the agency itself is going through a period of change, and I think we have the freedom and ability to be able to make of this what we dream it to be, together with the team and the young people that we've got in our agency.
So let me put you on the spot now.
Sure. I knew this was
Wouldn't
coming.
expect any less.
Let me say that your job, and defend the proposition. Your job is becoming obsolete. Is that in time, all of this will be done by artificial intelligence? Are your kind going to be around?
Your kind. You people.
Are your kind going to be around in the next 5 or 10 years? Is the discipline of creativity and that very odd tribe sometimes are they obsolete?
So I don't believe so, and Jeremy, like I really love this conversation, and I love this question, and it's one I have with my creatives the whole time, you know. So you know, since we've been playing around with ChatGPT and the like since December actually, you know, the question has been to them, you know, if we're not selling copy in 5 or 10 years because this thing has evolved so much, then what are we selling? You know, and I think, Jeremy, that's where as creatives we'll lean back on just that, right? Creativity. Because even the person who came up with ChatGPT, you know, it started off as a creative solution to something. So I think we will have to start thinking about ways of making or creating more value, using creativity to create more value for brands. That doesn't necessarily mean we are going out with a 30-second TV script or what have you. But I think at the foundation or at the base of what we can use to really make ourselves valuable in the future is leaning on our creative skills.
And the opportunity that it gives you is to spend more time thinking deeply, which
Absolutely.
is a good thing.
Yes, yeah. So I think if you can cut out the time that you have to spend writing an essay or what have you, and to do the creative thinking, like you said, I think will be really, really helpful. But it's an interesting challenge in my view, because we have to think about, you know, why we got into advertising in the first place. I don't think it was ever necessarily to write a TV ad or a radio ad. You know, when you speak to a lot of creatives, the thing that they always say is about how they've wanted to change the world or create impact. And for me, you know, we've used words and visuals to do it before. What are we going to use next to do that? To create the same impact, to create the same behavioral change ideas that are going to come about.
So what's the answer?
I've got an answer. Because I've been thinking about this a lot. And as you're talking, it's just like the ideas keep running through my head. But so I think what we are going to end up selling, as random as it sounds, is we're going to end up selling the fact that we get it. Right? So when I say we get it, it's going to be a challenge to creative resources to spend much more time immersed in clients' businesses, right? Now, the immersion that you're going to be doing is now not just to be able to address a brief, it's to be plugged into that ecosystem to such an extent that when there is a brief that comes out, there is no requirement to give you context. There's no requirement to sit and get you up to speed with what we're trying to do.
In many ways, you've got to recognize the brief before it comes.
Correct, right? And that ability to get it, I think, will be something that clients are willing to pay for. And those that get it quicker and then use the technology to kind of produce the output will be far ahead from the guys that are not going to get it and going to be opposing the technology, if that makes sense. So it does create a lot of time, I think, and I think, you know, we'll go on the journey on how to reinvest that time. If ChatGPT cuts our time on scripts down by 80%, that's now 80% capacity. What are they doing with the time? I think it's going to be more about immersion, it's about getting into the client business. It's going to be about asking the questions, facilitating processes where you're thinking about interesting things with clients, and that level of intimacy, I think, will still be valuable.
As the writer in the room, though, let me also say that it's not a complete replacement
Absolutely.
of great writing.
Yes.
is that great copywriting is still the pillar that holds this industry together. You will agree with me.
100%.
Please agree with me.
No, I do agree with you. I do agree with you, but I do also think that we don't know how far this thing can evolve, right? And I think, again, this is a thing that I've heard in our debates with the creatives, and they say, like, to your point, Jeremy, will it create great writing is the question mark, But if you ask this thing and say, listen, write me an article about the State of the Nation address written in the tone of Jeremy Maggs, and it evolves to that level in 20 years' time, could we actually sit here and say that it couldn't, is the question. So we actually don't know, but I do hear your point, and absolutely, I think, things like great insight, great storytelling and perspective, which, I think can only come from a human being, will still be quite relevant. It just means that as a writer, you will just have to stand out above the rest, as well as ChatGPT, so there's more competition in that way.
That article you refer to, by the way, will be full of spelling mistakes and grammatical issues. What do clients need to do, Meso?
What do clients need to do? That's a good question. Look, I think clients, number one, need to realize that things have changed, right? I think there is sometimes an apprehension, because there's a bit of the echo chamber effect when you're a client and when you're stuck in what you need to achieve, that you yourself are not fully acknowledging the fact that things are different. So I think that's the first thing. The second is, when you start trying to find partners from a creative perspective to work with, you need to vest yourself into the process of getting the best out of the relationship. And what does that mean? It means that acknowledging that things have changed and that we're all going on a journey means that the temperament of how you manage the relationship is important. If we were all saying that we've all got it figured out, I would say it would be a different approach. But we're all acknowledging that we don't have it figured out and we're going on a journey. So I think the temperament of how clients engage becomes important. Lastly, I think there's still some fundamental guiding principles around being able to lead that I think clients should double down on. It is eternally frustrating for agencies working with clients who aren't leading and are expecting the agency to lead. And that typically results in misunderstanding, misaligned briefs, etc. So I think there's still a strong requirement for our clients to show up and to be able to lead. And the last thing is that gives us the ability to be protected somewhat as an agency, but also to be able to map out the internal dynamics of organizations. Those are complex places. And I think that's the value they can give to us and that we can benefit from as an agency partner.
I'm going to finish this conversation in just a moment by asking you both what you're looking out for in 2023. But Thibedi, first of all, how do you make the case for creativity to clients who don't necessarily value it and are more concerned about high-end, high-volume output at the expense of creativity? Something that you've had to deal with all your life, but now that debate becomes even more crucial.
Jeremy, I think, I've had a thought about this, especially recently when I was looking for codes for insurance. And it had been a while, right? So I just couldn't believe how many players there are in the game, right? And I think because of that, right, the consumer has so many choices now. I think it becomes more crucial for your message to be stand out. And creativity is a thing that will drive that for you, right? I think, it's, if you think you just have a good product and that's it, I think that'll be a mistake. I think that's where, the role of creativity is to really elevate the experience for the consumer and connect with them in a way that other brands won't.
And it's more important than ever before to stand out now.
Exactly,
So
I think so.
to the insurance thing, we're not going to name names because it's not a client, but there is one particular short-term insurer at the moment that has a very high impact billboard campaign that everybody is talking about.
Absolutely.
Simple, basic, creative solutions.
Absolutely.
But that's the answer to
And
your
it
question.
stands out, absolutely, yeah. And it's simply that, Jeremy, and the consumer's spoiled for choice. We can't deny it, even in how they live now, the choice to work from home or be elsewhere. I think that's, so creativity is the one thing that's going to help you cut through if you want to make them choose between brand A or brand B.
We do like a nice pineapple for breakfast, so very happy to look in that direction. What are you looking out for this year?
Gorillas and goldfish. That's what I'm looking out for. So there's a video on YouTube that's got a bunch of moving pieces, and if you're watching carefully, you should be able to observe the gorilla that walks across the screen. And most people can't see the gorilla. And when we think about our industry and how everything is changing externally, I think there'll be interesting gorillas that'll walk past, and if you're not paying attention, that you'll miss them, right? One of them is ChatGPT. Another is how artificial intelligence from a visualization perspective will play out, what that impacts from a diversity perspective in the campaigns that we're going to build. So those are all interesting gorillas that are, need to be observed. When I talk about goldfish, the kind of people that we're trying to hire are those that have got very short memories. When I say short memories, is that a lot of creatives and a lot of people within our industry have had successes and won awards and done all sorts of things. I need everybody to forget that and focus on what we're doing going forward, right? So I need people with short memories around their victories and their successes, because we are in a period of creation. So for me, it's gorillas and goldfish.
Yeah, in this creative industry, you really are as good as your last thought, aren't you?
Correct.
Yeah. Past success is important, but it's not a guarantee of success in the future. What about you?
Yeah. Sure. I think the anticipation for me is of what could be. So I really am looking out for, I think, a new breed of talent that's coming into the industry. I had a conversation with someone the other day about how young people are exiting the industry, and the reason they cited for that is that we're treating them or managing them like old agency models. And I think there's something to be figured out there and got right in terms of the young people who come with expectations or ideas of what advertising should be, and not imposing what we know it to be on them, but rather listening out and taking in. And I think it's, if you think about someone who comes into this workspace, could potentially have only ever, engaged with TV on a mobile platform, for example. They don't know what scrolling on a platform is like on a TV screen, for example. And they think differently in that way. The young designers that are coming up, I think they don't know or don't think about designing for billboard or print the way that we grew up thinking.
They don't know what a squeeze bag is.
They don't know what a squeeze bag is, you know what I mean? And their focus might be purely digital. And I think that's something to embrace, right? So I'm really looking forward, especially in my department, I'm looking for young talent who have not a clue what advertising is about, but have ideas of what it could be. And I think that's what's exciting for me. That's what I'm looking forward to in the year ahead.
Exciting times ahead. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. And there will be a lot more brave conversations like this from key members of the Brave Group team throughout the course of the year. Thank you for watching.